got over in this corner, so I wouldn't sing. Switching with the machine.
That's okay. I know I'm horrible but you're everywhere. O'clock, and as I told several folks, we're going to start on time. The chief is here.
Is he? Okay.
But first of all, this is a NAACP Louisville branch first meeting in this facility, renovated facility, and it is a community resource. And so I'm asking Natalie Wood to give us a welcome and introduction and talk to you about the facility and its use, because we want to make certain the community gets full use and involvement with it. Okay?
Hello, everybody. Hello. Everybody doing good? Despite all that rain outside?
Yes.
I'm super excited to have you all here. This is our large meeting room. We have a smaller meeting room that's across the hall. So if you all ever want to use these spaces, we have an online meeting room form. You fill it out. I'll let you know if the space is available. We walk through all the little logistics that they have of everything that we have to do. But we have a children's area up there that has a small little reading nook in it. Teen area that's just for teens. Everybody wants to be up there because it has a nice view. But it's just the teen space. And then we have a nice space for the adults. If you all go upstairs, check out that wallpaper in the front. It looks like that little speckling kind of stuff you see on the wall. But if you get real close to it, it's letters in the hallway. But on the one side right by the elevator, you can see where it's the back part of the original building. We're in the original building now, but once you get back that way towards where the elevator is, that's the new spot. And we also have a makerspace. Our makerspace has an X tool. We have not learned how to use that just yet, but that's a laser cutter. We also have 3D printing, sewing machines, Cricut. We have different STEM kits and stuff like that to do different things. We have a program called Savvy Senior. That's just programming specifically for our seniors to come in and learn how to do different things, whether it's computer-based, whether it's different things in the makerspace. We're going to have some dance classes. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But we also have something for everybody, story time, stuff like that. So please come and check us out. If you don't, first off, how many of y'all got a library card?
Thanks for allowing us to use this space.
Absolutely.
As in all of our meetings, we always start out with prayer, and Claudia Guerin's going to lead us. What has been the practice since I became president of the branch is that each of the membership meetings, we've had special guests to come in and do presentation on issues. We've had the Commonwealth Attorney. We've had a gentleman who is running an organization that passes out Narcan in West Louisville. We had a variety of people. This evening, we're fortunate enough to have the presence of Police Chief Paul Humphrey. When I sent the request out to him, what I got back was an immediate response was what day you want him and when, and he is down here. He has a distinction. The first time, I don't know the first time I met him, but when this is not his first visit with the Louisville branch. He was here when Villarreal was police chief. And at the end of that, he walked up and said, "Do you have a son that went to St. X?" So he was 2 years ahead of my son at St. X. So with this, I introduce to you Paul Humphrey. He'll make a presentation on any matter he wants to talk about, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So welcome.
So thank you for having me. And yes, I was 2 years ahead of his son, and I know his son better than his son probably knows me because he was a superstar soccer player, if y'all didn't know, and spent some time playing professionally also. Whereas I just practice sports. This is much nicer than the environment that we were in. So, no, I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet so that we can get to answering your questions and let you know, or make sure that I answer what you want to know about. But a few things that I want to talk about is our mission. One of the things about what we're trying to do since I came into office is we're really trying to drive cultural change. not just policy change, not just equipment or process change, but cultural change. And I think part of what has to be done when you drive cultural change is you have to have a mission that everybody's dedicated to and going in the same direction. And the thing about the mission statement and the LMPD policy, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. But it was a mission statement that was created back when they merged the city and the county government. And it wasn't something that we really owned. It wasn't something that we wore on our sleeve. It wasn't the thing that every decision that we made was filtered through. And so I put out requests for input from the entire department about our mission statement. What did they want to see from our mission statement? What did they want to own? What did they want our department to be and our department to aspire towards? So that we would have something that we as an agency owned and could aspire to. So I'll read you our mission statement and what it's updated to. It hasn't even gone into policy yet. We literally just rolled this out last week at department-wide email roll calls. It is the mission of the Louisville Metro Police Department to enhance safety and quality of life for all people by enforcing the law and preserving peace while holding ourselves to the highest ethical standards. And I think that is not only achievable, but it remains aspirational. Because no matter what we do, there is no goal line for us. So whether crime comes down to a certain level, we can still improve. Whether we have community relations going really, really well, how can we still improve? So always setting this aspirational culture of, if we're doing it good, how can we make sure that it was by the intent of our leadership and our policy and our training? And if we are not, how can we make sure that we are finding those gaps and identifying them and fixing them? The other thing is, obviously, crime is our primary thing. So we have to have a plan. And back in the fall, we put out our crime plan. And that crime plan was based on evidence-based policing theories. We tried to base it on research so that we were able to measure our success. And I'll tell you how it was for a long time of my time on the department. So I've been here a little over 18 years. And generally when we had some kind of issue, some kind of crime issue in the city, and y'all will know as well as anybody, what did we do? We created a task force or something like that, or 90 days of heat for the summer or whatever it was, and we just threw resources at it, and we tried to swamp it in the short term. Well, the problem with that is for guys like me who were just riding late watch and being told, hey, go do a business check at a store, and do this many business checks every night. Well, for me, there's no buy-in. The average officer, there's no buy-in because I'm not being told why I'm doing it. I'm not being told what I'm supposed to accomplish when I'm doing it. I'm not being told what the effects of it in the larger plan are. And so often, we had all of these crime-fighting strategies that were limited to a specific unit or a specific task force, and the people that were doing the majority of the work, being patrol officers out there, really felt disconnected from the effects that they were supposed to have. So we wanted to have a crime plan that everybody understood what their role was, from the newest recruit all the way to a detective that's working homicides. How do you fit into this? And so our crime plan is based on 3 fronts. And one of that is, it's data-driven policing is what we call it, right? And all of these happen at the same time. So data-driven policing is really, it is responding to what is going on right now. So for instance, we had an issue in the Highlands with stuff popping off. All right, our data, the information we're receiving saying that's a problem that has happened more than once and is likely to happen again. So how are we going to take resources and fix that problem? We have a problem at Algonquin Pool right now. Or it's not really the pool, it's Algonquin Park. So how are we going to take resources and no longer have this be a 5th division problem or a 2nd division problem, right? We are talking about, all right, this problem is in this division. How is the department going to solve this problem as a whole? What resources can you bring to the table, you bring to the table, you bring to the table, so that we are all bought into solving each other's problems? So yeah, Major Miller might be the major in the 2nd division, and he's got a problem, but it's not just Major Miller's problem. He's heading the solution to that problem, but it is all of our problem.
That's right.
Right? And it's the same way in every division. So as opposed to when we go back and we measure this, the way we used to do CompStat is our crime analysis meeting. The way we used to do CompStat, we need to get back to having the community CompStat. We're making a lot of adjustments and changes, and you'll see a difference when you come back. But the way we used to do CompStat is every division used to report out on their crime every week. And I'll be all the way honest with you, it wasn't accomplishing much. And so now we just have 2 divisions that report out every week. And what it's about is, what are the problems that you've had over the last 28 days? What is the plan to solve it? And we're going to document this plan, and we're going to come back in 28 days and see if it's had the desired effect. And so that way, every month, we're hitting it. Because you can't solve a problem in a week, right? So let's actually come up with a plan that the department's going to dedicate itself to solve this short-term problem, knowing that some of those short-term problems we're going to have every year, right? Summer's going to hit, we're going to have problems at the waterfront park. So we know that we're going to have to boost up manpower at the waterfront park every summer, right? So some of that stuff, or shoplifting at the malls and shopping centers during the wintertime around Christmas. We know those problems are going to pop up. So that's part of building our plans out. That middle term thing is about really getting violent people off the street. The people who have already committed crime that we know need to be picked up. Because getting those people off the street, those people are likely to be your next offenders, or they're going to be your next victim. So if we can interrupt that, which is frankly what we have not necessarily done a really good job of. We do a good job of catching people these days, but we're not doing a good job of getting to people before they commit a crime. And that is really one of the missing links that we've had in the last few years. So, and that is also our GVI program, our group violence intervention. We've moved that out of community engagement and moved it over into criminal interdiction. And part of that is designed to, we were not fulfilling our role in group violence interdiction. Group violence interdiction is really about identifying the most likely next suspect or victim and getting to them before they commit a crime and give them a warning and say, you were on our radar and the criminal justice system is looking at you and it's looking at all of your friends. We don't want to have to deal with you criminally, but we will, and it will be swift and you will be punished. But because we don't want to, here are all these other resources, both governmental and non-governmental, to get you out of the lifestyle. So can we offer you job training? Can we offer you relocation because what you're into is so bad that you cannot live in Louisville anymore without being at risk of dying? Can we offer you counseling? Can we offer you financial assistance to get your mom's electricity bill taken care of? What are those things that we can do to get you out of that lifestyle? But if you don't, there's going to be people here to put you in jail because that might be the only way to keep you alive, right? And I'll be 100% honest, we were trying to do too much work on the outreach side and not enough work on the enforcement side. And when you're putting people in the places where their skills and their talents and their resources are not really designed for, we are not that thing, right? We're not going to be able to help you get relocated. That's not what we do. There are organizations for that. So if we're trying to do that, we are wasting our time and resources. And we are also interfering with the ability of those who do that type of work to be able to do it well. So we've moved them over. The mayor's office has rededicated to the GVI model. Actually, a bunch of them just got back from, they went up to Philadelphia to see how they're doing it up there because they've had a lot of success. So that is, in a nutshell, our second tier, our second front of our crime plan. And then lastly is our long-term, what we call sustained focus improvement. So identifying the 5 census tracts in the city that have the most room for opportunity. Knowing that we have to target that not just with enforcement, we have to target that with activity. So our proactivity, though our arrests had not gone up, our proactivity, which means contacts with people, have gone way up. And it's about engaging all of the other parts of Metro government. So trash removal, graffiti removal, house boarding, those types of things. And it actually has taken off way better than I thought it would because everybody's getting in the same rooms and dedicating to one thing. And to see everybody going in the same direction, everybody having a purpose has been absolutely amazing. So hundreds of streetlights have been fixed. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of trash have been cleared out of alleys. It's been absolutely amazing. And those other agencies have been energized to be part of a bigger plan and know that, look, these areas we are going to focus on, and we are going to change these for the better, for the people that live there long term, to be able to sustain that. Because locking people up alone is not going to do it, right? So that's our thing, right? So we've talked about our mission, how we talk about ourselves, how we focus on the culture of the agency, talk about having a plan, getting everybody on board with the plan, and then lastly is how we communicate that plan, right? I think one of the places, any organization that you go to, biggest complaint is always communication. Communication, 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 right? And for us, it's even different because we have communication at so many levels and so many layers within the organization, and then we have communication at so many levels external to the organization, right? Knowing that, again, there is no end path to communication. I think what you saw with this department in the past when we talk about things like transparency is that we thought we had won. We got body cameras early on. We thought that was enough. We used to, if y'all recall, we used to release officer-involved shooting videos within 24 hours. We thought that was enough, right? And so we cannot stop. So right now, Jen Keeney over here is our comms director. She recently came over from WDRB, and part of the conversations we've been having recently is we've made an attempt to communicate with the community as much as possible. And I would argue that we probably give out more information about the things that we're doing right or wrong than this agency has, maybe ever. But we're still not hitting the mark. There's still a gap of communication that we need to fill. So what is that next thing? Let's not drop what we're doing, right? Let's keep those press conferences going. Let's keep those appearances on the news going. Let's keep that social media going. But what is the next part that we are not fulfilling? So how do we find that? And so that is where we're at now, right? So no stop in the communication growth. Understand that the things we're doing, pretty decent, but what is the next iteration of it? And that is the culture ultimately that we're trying to build, is that even when you have a good thing going, you should be looking and searching for how to improve it. So with that, I will open up the floor to questions.
Questions. And let me tell you, we're looking for questions, not a statement, not a diatribe or any of those things.
I just want to revise or reintroduce an issue that a lot of the moms in the group have. In 2023, Mayor Greenberg introduced a plan to hire more retired officers to work with cold cases. This is past June the 7th, we had the Orange Walk, and since then, we've added 15 more families to the mom's group. We're over 760 now. And majority, 8% of the cases are unsolved. And I just want to reintroduce that thought that Mayor Greenberg talked about, hire retired officers to handle cold cases. How many do you all have now?
So the question was about hiring retired officers and detectives to work, specifically to work cold cases. 2 years of investigation is considered cold, and it transfers over to our cold case unit because it does take a different type of investigation. So a couple of things have happened. Is one, we have added 2 detectives to that unit that are rehires. And we have hired, I believe we've solved 3 more of those cases last year. Don't quote me on that, which I know doesn't bring comfort to a lot of people. But one of the things that they've done is they've gotten a screening tool that they are going through every one of their cold cases to try to look for the things that would stand out that might be the key to solving that case, that whatever detective was working that in the past, whether it was an active case or a cold case, may have missed, overlooked, or not realized was an important part of that case. So that is, and we've put money in the budget to hire more, what we call them civilian investigators, so.
Okay, here.
Hello, I am Minister Nikki with Gospel Missionary, and my father is the Honorable Bishop Dennis B. Lyon. We have met several times.
Yes, ma'am.
My question for you is, we had a place where you invited all of the clergy together, and we got training with that clergy, all the pastors in all churches and everything. You took them, we went through basic training, we went through all the skills. You stopped using those pastors in all of the churches. Then those same pastors went through synergy. My question for you is, when are you going to initialize the clergy resource team that we spent hours and hours to learn y'all method of the way y'all do everything and our method of the way we do everything? We need to make a bond to come together to fight this streak going on and to put the trust back into the ministers that was trained. We sat in class for 8 hours.
I think I don't know where that program dropped off, but I do know what you're talking about, and I think it's a really good idea to get it back up and going, because I know y'all were very useful on a lot of these scenes where people were upset and out of control, and it took somebody different from the police to be able to help us get it under control. So 100%, I think it's a good idea to re-explore.
And we're still on the team.
Right.
Now, we're still on the team of fighting with the opioids. We're our first responders. We're still out in the field, but we're not getting used. How can we get used, funded, and everything else to make it more effective for you all?
Yep. No, that's something we need to go back to. And I don't know how it was set up before. I wasn't part of that before, the way it was set up.
Mhm.
So it's something we can set something up to figure out how to get that going again.
Okay, all the way back in the back.
Without a diatribe, just to start with a positive note. When you took over this past summer in particular, I noticed the immediate change in terms of presence and communication, and that is a plus. What I haven't noticed is LMPD being willing to be accountable to the community for the things that have happened. Specifically, I want to point to the prior case. When that case was brought up before the media, and we had the Inspector General, who's actually sitting in front of me, share his findings, and he came before the NAACP as well to share what his experience has been. We talked about the fact that in that you came across as very defensive of LMPD, not willing to agree to look into the matter, to investigate the matter. You kind of shared that you wished it was a phone call, could have settled a lot of this. And that's the level of accountability that we as a community, I don't think, find acceptable anymore. So I do know we have another commission on its way that will replace 100 commissions that we've had in this city to look at police accountability, and still very little results. Can you speak to the issue of police accountability with the community right now, where it stands, and specifically your role in making sure that the community's questions gets answered, whether it's through the Inspector General, which we believe it should be, or through one of the commissions that's being set up?
A couple of things is, one, I completely understand why people have that reaction to the Omari Cryer case that they did. And they had that reaction to my reaction to it that they did. We disagree. We can disagree and respect each other at the end of the day. I think I laid out all of my reasons why I disagree with his findings on that case, and I think we're doing a better job of communicating now about his findings and the results of his findings than we were before. So I do think we made some progress because of that case and our disagreements on that case. And I stand behind my words on that case. I don't want this community to go through what it's been through in the last 5 years, ever again. And that's part of the reason why I spoke up about that case in particular, is because I did feel like that had the potential to be very damaging to the community and the police department that is doing a lot of work to not only do better, but heal our reputation and our relationship with the community. That being said, I will say that I have no problem with holding people accountable. If y'all knew the number of people that I've fired or suspended or taken disciplinary action on, I think you would be surprised. That being said, it's a place where I'm still trying to learn, 100%. I'm not sure if I get it right. And here's the balance that I struggle with, is that particularly when people who don't get fired, who get suspended, whether it's a short suspension or a long suspension, whatever it is, I need them to be good employees afterwards. I don't need people walking around afraid that they're going to be the next person that's thrown under the bus publicly to make people feel good. What I need them to do is learn how to be better and go out and do their job better than they did it before. And so there is a balance where, you know, as much as this is a public job, officers did not sign up to be in the public's eye in that way. Understanding that the next thing that they do could put them in the middle of a lot of controversy. Something as simple as locking up Russ Smith. It might garner you some attention that you didn't plan on, right? And so I try to balance that, and I don't know if I'm always getting it right, because I will tell you that historically, this department, being an officer in this department, we've never, ever felt like the department itself gave a damn about us at times. And so I really do try to support and grow officers through discipline. And I can give you a couple of examples. And one of the things that I do when I discipline people is I've been suspended before, and it sucks. You get this cold letter, this impersonal letter that says whatever you did and whatever your suspension is. And I tell you what, when I got 3 days suspension when I was brand new, and it shut me down for almost a year. I was no good to the community, and I was a hard worker. And that's the last thing that I want to do to an officer. I didn't learn anything from that. It didn't make me better. It didn't help the community. I didn't learn the law that I had messed up better than I had before, right? So all I did was lose 3 days of pay and a bunch of headaches, right? It didn't help anybody. So I try to pull officers in. When I take money out of a person's pocket, I try to pull them in and look them in the eye and tell them why I did it. And I can also tell you that I've fired several people that have told me thank you at the end of the day, because they know. And here's the thing about it is that I am extremely critical of officers. Y'all don't see it. Like y'all don't necessarily know me as well as some people, but my personality is not very nice. It's not. I'm an extremely critical person. All I see is what people mess up. So it pains me at times to compliment officers, because that's all I see is what they do wrong. But I also believe that people live up to the standard of what is set for them, and the expectations that you set for them. If you tell somebody they're a piece of crap all the time, they're going to be a piece of crap. I mean, y'all see it all the time. I can tell you that riding the beat, the thing that went through me more than anything is the mom that was walking with her kid and just dogging them out.
Yeah.
What you think the kid's gonna be? You just like your daddy, you ain't gonna be nothing. Well, yeah, that's what you're gonna make them into, and that's what this police department has done over and over for years to its officers. I have no problem holding people accountable. I think I'm gonna get it wrong sometimes. I have no problem holding people accountable, but I will say that I'm not sure I always get the balance right of letting the public know exactly how things are being done.
Wanda.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was a long answer. I hope I actually gave you an answer that, even if you disagree with it, you understand what I'm trying to say.
I think you could have been a little bit more detailed. I was looking for specifics about how you intend to make sure that you all are more accountable to the public than what has been in the past.
Okay, so here's the thing about it, and because I think this is important.
Let her answer a question, and then get to what you were going to talk about.
So this is really important because what you have to have is you have to have good people that are managers or leaders, but you also have to have systems in place to make sure that there is a baseline that the system catches and it continues on beyond the individual leadership, right? And so, for instance, our body cameras used to be body cameras. You reviewed them when something happened, but that was it. Now we require supervisors to review so many a month. We have an audit unit that I think last year they looked at over 3,000 videos to make sure that officers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the way that they're talking to people, and the way that they're using force, and the way that they're taking their reports. We have a force investigations unit, so every single use of force no longer just goes through the chain of command like it used to, right? We completely changed our use of force policy. We changed our training on use of force completely, and we created a unit that centralizes reviews of use of force. It has an officer who is a retired sergeant who's come back as an officer. It has a sergeant, a lieutenant, and a lawyer that looks at every single use of force, right? And then gives feedback on it. Every critical incident that we have a panel of about 15 officers, our performance review board, that comes together to evaluate that, not for policy violations, not for criminal violations, because those are simultaneous, those are other investigations, but for how can we do this better, right? We have put a ton of systems in place to supplement the individual leader. Does that give you a little bit more specificity?
It does from the inside, it's just the outside. You know, one of the things that people say is the police cannot police themselves. That's where the issue comes, but I don't want to take all the time.
Absolutely, thank you so much. So I've written my questions down because I'm a senior and I forget what I want to say.
Well, I'm writing right here.
It is a twofold question for you. In what you and the mayor signed, what in it should give the community hope for constitutional policing and accountability? That's question A of the question. And how will the community know when the reforms have been implemented? That's B. If you could address that for us, sir. Thank you.
The previous consent decree was 248 pages. This is about 215 pages. So effectively the substance of the consent decree and all of the policy and all of the training and all of the reforms that we negotiated with the Department of Justice substantively is all still in there. All of the key objectives, the things that we were going to be measured by for each section stayed the same. So we are going to achieve that. And I'd like to kind of change the paradigm on that a little bit, because I think a lot of people are upset that you know, things took so long and it seemed like the department was dragging its feet and the city was dragging its feet. Let me explain in some detail so you actually understand what happened. The Department of Justice conducted that investigation, and between the investigation time and the negotiations, it took a little bit over 3 years, right? So 2 years for an investigation that, he can tell you, that's a little bit long for the average Department of Justice investigation. They did not have the resources to actually conduct an investigation for the first time ever with an agency that had body-worn cameras. Plain and simple. We gave them as much data in the first couple of weeks as they had ever had in any investigation ever. And they did not have capacity to actually conduct that investigation. And so it took a long time. Then when you talk about the negotiations, we pushed and pushed and pushed to get that done. The Department of Justice and all their infinite bureaucracy, which is part of the problems with consent decrees, slowed that down and slowed that down and slowed that down for different reasons. So you understand that, but then understand the other part is that you actually have a police department and a city that said, you know what? They messed that up. Ain't got nothing to do with us. We're still going to accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish with the consent decree. Very good. That being said, we know that we're not reporting out to court. We know that there's not federal oversight. And we know that trust has been violated by our agency and by our city in the past. So we do need somebody else to be able to say, all right, look at what they're doing. let's report this out to the community so the community knows if LMPD is telling the truth about the things they're doing or not. So we'll put out an RFP for a monitor. It won't be a monitor assigned to the court, an agent of the court like a normal monitor is under consent decree. But that's what they're there to do. So they're there to say yes or no, you actually accomplished it. I thought that was part B.
How will the community know when the reforms have been
That's
implemented?
it. The monitor is going to report out on that.
And that's, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good question. All in the back.
A listening session for what you want to see out of a monitor. The first one is tomorrow.
That's correct.
Here.
There's actually some
Okay.
flyers over
There you go.
here tomorrow night, so that's gonna be an important meeting.
Yes, sir.
Mine's kind of touching on it a little bit with accountability. I know I've talked with you before and Healy at one community meeting, but I think mine goes to.
You speak up so we can hear you.
I'll repeat it.
So I spoke with you before, Chief Healy, about some things as far as accountability and stuff like that. And I think mine goes to, and you asked me then, like, what do I think as a community member would be good? And I mentioned to you, like, when there's arrests or different things and crimes that you all solve, you know, that's on social media, it's on the news, it's spread, it's spread, it's spread. I think community account for us with accountability is we don't see it. And I mentioned to you then, perception is reality. And for most people, they see and perceive that the police do a lot of things, they get away with it, they do a lot of stuff, they get away with it, and then there's no accountability. And I mentioned to you then, what would prevent you all from simply going on the same way you all get on and say, hey, we locked these guys up for doing this, we took some money off the street, we took these cars from doing donuts, to say, hey, 2 officers were, you know, molesting women on traffic stops, we don't allow that, we don't tolerate it, we got rid of them. Because things like that would show the community, like, without you all having to constantly beg us, it would show people like, hey, we're actually home, because we don't see it. You're saying it, and that's, you know, all we can do is take your word
What's
for
your
it. So that's
question?
one.
What's your
And
question?
then the other part is the wording that is used in the language. Like, for example, the consent decree, accountability in there is named as alleged actions, and a lot of that was not alleged. It was proven with data and backed up.
Definitely open to ideas about how to be more transparent with our accountability. That being said, every officer I've fired has been on the news. I've probably fired, what, I don't know, 10 or 12 officers in the past year. We've locked up, I think, 4. Like that, it's all been on the news. We've talked about all of it. I just did a long form interview with Courier Journal, sitting down talking about officers that I just fired. So we have been doing that. Apparently, we're not getting it out the right way. One of the things that we've discussed is we have a quarterly, what we call a personnel action report, and that puts out, it's a quarterly report that has all of the commendations, all the award nominations, but it also has all of the discipline. So we're talking about getting that put up on our website so you can see it quarterly of what that personnel action is. The other thing is about the wording alleged. It is alleged. DOJ never proved any of that stuff in court. They never provided us the evidence of the data of any of that. That's a lawsuit. So that's what you have to understand. They sued us. That was their lawsuit. We are not admitting any of that. That ain't how lawsuits work. So
What about the stuff that's on you all's body camera?
what's that?
What about the stuff that's on you all's body camera?
They're allowed to come to a conclusion. We can agree or disagree with it, but we're not putting that on in that document that way. If we want to talk about individual cases, we can talk about individual cases, but this is also not the format for that. But when we're talking about what's in that DOJ report, first of all, there is stuff that I 100% disagree with, and then there's a lot of stuff that I agree with. But that's what reasonable people do. That's why we have a system that has an appellate system that goes all the way to the Supreme Court, so that when reasonable people disagree, there are arbiters for that. Disagree on that, and clearly, I don't think some of that stuff they could have proven a case on individually. Holistically, it doesn't matter to me, because here's the thing: we got a lot of work to do. I know that. You know that. You know that generally all the stuff that they're talking about, we have messed up in the past. We have to fix. That's why we agreed to the solutions that we negotiate. Yes, ma'am.
GBI, what is the measurement and how y'all collecting that data? My second question is, you said that you are giving them a warning. What does that warning look like? Have they committed murder, they get a warning? Are they out here stealing, get a warning? What does that look like? What's that warning?
So the question was about what does GVI data look like, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is part of where I think we failed in the past, is that I don't think we've kept good data on success rates.
And does it really, and I know it worked in other states, but does it really work?
That's another
Yeah, I know.
point of debate, right? And so I think when we talk about best practices, I hate the word best practices, because that's best practice for whatever the conditions are at the time in that location. So how can we take a good idea and make it our own? And so that's what we are in the process of trying to do, is revamp this GVI system. What was the second part of your question?
You said
It's the warning.
the
Okay.
warning for the
Yes.
kids. What
Yes.
is that, a warning?
So they identify people through a system that they've developed.
Right.
And it is, if you commit murder, you already lost. Like, we're past that point, right? If you're shooting, like, we're past that point, right? These are the people that we've identified that are likely to be shooters, are likely to be victims. If you already done it, the place for you is jail or prison. So we're trying to get them before they commit that crime that can't be undone.
So what are you doing to prevent that before?
So that is having that meeting with them, offering them all those resources, right? So they actually have what they call a GVI call-in, where they bring people in, and all of those resources are in the room together. So mental health workers, Goodwill, all of that stuff, and we give them direct access to it. And then we also tell them the other people in the room are people from the state, local, and federal judicial system, prosecutors, judges, things like that, that are saying you are on our radar and you will not be dealt with lightly if you do not go this route.
And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want, how are you doing today?
Good to see you again.
Okay, you talk about firing the police officers, but I guess I'm just curious, I want to know, are you taking their police certification away from them or recommend it? Because you can fire them from LMPD, but then they go to another area and create problems.
So the question is about decertification of police officers. So I don't control their certification,
Okay.
right? So while we are an academy that gives certification, we are certified to give that by the state, by what's called the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council. So when we fire somebody, we report that to the state, to the Law Enforcement Council, who then conducts their own investigation. I actually used to sit on this committee for the state, and we would review that file of whether that the legal requirements for us to be able to decertify the officers. So some officers get decertified, some don't. So it's a weird phraseology. It's professional malfeasance or professional nonfeasance. So pretty much anybody who, if you commit a felony, you're done. Untruthfulness, excessive force, a lot of those things go to that panel to be reviewed by the state, and some get decertified and some don't.
Okay,
So we make that recommendation to the
My
state.
second question is, I know I hear Mary Greenberg on TV talking about the crime is down, I hear you. But when I'm looking at Facebook LMPD scanner and I'm hearing the community and everything, like juvenile crime seems like it's going up. And
Yep.
then,
So it's what he said, perception is reality a lot of times, right?
Right.
And that is part of us trying to make you feel safe. So first of all, we're not where we need to be. So let's put that out there, right? Where we are with our level of crime and juvenile crime is not where it should be. We should be way farther. Like, it's great that crime's gone down 30%. It's still higher than it ever was before 2020. So we are not there. We're not even close to there. That being said, we're going in the right direction. And so it is going to be key for me and the command staff to keep pressure on officers, pressure on the community to keep going in that direction. Crime is down across the country. And I like to joke that the police department's responsible for it going down here and not change. Our juvenile violent crime rate is the exact same as it was last year. So it's again another perception thing, right? That being said, It's way too high. It is way too high. And if it's at the point that the police have to intervene on a 16-year-old, like it's kind of late for that, right? That's where we need community. That's where we need to be the liaison between the kid and the community organizations and the parents. I'll tell you right now, I don't know how to solve that problem. That is a generational problem. That is a community problem. That is a cultural problem that we have as a city. And if it's at the point where I'm putting handcuffs on a 16-year-old because they're carrying a gun, we've already jumped the shark on what to do with that kid. We've already lost that kid. So one of the things I was talking about, I think you were at the barbershop. One of the things I was talking about at the barbershop was, I think part of what we have to do is we have all of these classes for kids and stuff like that, and like we need to get to new parents because it's when a kid is brand new, when they're a baby, when they're a toddler. If a parent doesn't know how to raise them, of course the police are going to be dealing with them when they're 16, right? And I think we need to refocus where we're devoting a lot of our resources into young parents. And because once like I'm not giving up on a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, but there's a lot of damage there, and it's a lot cheaper and a lot more effective to raise somebody right than it is to try to fix them after the road. Yes, ma'am. Good to see you again.
You too. What I want to ask you though, you talked about the mission statement and you talked about your vision. Did you have a vision statement at all? Because most companies and organizations do.
So it's funny. So I wanted to get the mission statement out first. And so I'm working on the vision. I wanted the mission statement to be the thing that we all bought into together. And I do want the vision to be driven from where I'm trying to get it. So when we put it in the policy, I want to have that vision along with it. And really that vision is exactly what I've communicated to you. It's being dedicated to constant improvement. That there is no finish line with this. Like, we are very good as a profession, the police department, not just LMPD, but the profession of policing. We're very good at telling other people what to do. We're not always very good at telling ourselves what to do. And so you were talking about accountability. Both of y'all mentioned accountability. I think we have a whole mindset and a paradigm that we have to change around the concept of accountability. Accountability is not discipline. It's not, right? Discipline is a form of accountability. But when accountability is done right, it prevents discipline. It steps in to those problems before they become real issues. And accountability is how you show people you care about them. Because if you're not stopping me every day or every so often and saying, hey, look, I think you can do this a little bit better, or you better stop doing that or there's going to be a problem. If you're not doing that, you're telling me one of two things. Either you don't care about me, because you're going to let me keep doing whatever I'm doing that's not going to lead me to success, or you don't think I'm capable of it either anymore. So if you're not telling me to be better, if you're not telling me that I'm messing up, you don't care about me. And that's the mindset that we're trying to change around here.
Okay, got time for two more questions. We'll go back here to Adolph back here, and then Rhonda down here.
For the brother. Is it okay?
I'm running the meeting, okay?
He was just letting you know that I was before him.
No, we're going to Adolph.
Communication, when I came in, you were talking about communication. I understand communication is one of the most important things in any relationship. So when you talk about communication, I'm thinking that you're talking about within your department. What about communication? I'm very personal. Everybody talks about communities. I live in a neighborhood, and I think most of you all live in neighborhoods. What about the communication that you have with the people in the neighborhoods? Because those are the people that every day they go out and have to deal with the police, whatever they do. So communication, what do you do to make that transition to have a friendly environment, a welcoming environment for the people who live in the neighborhoods?
That's a great question. And it's again, one that I'm not going to get right. There's always going to be the next best way that I need to do this. That being said, I've tried to be much more available, much more approachable, much more transparent, and give out way more information about what we're doing. That being said, I can't be everywhere. So it really is about the individual officer. And I can tell you particularly over the last couple of months, our emphasis internally is simply how you talk to people. How you talk to people. Most people can tolerate just about anything except for being talked to sideways. Right? You can do a lot of stuff as long as I know why you're doing it and that you're respecting me when you do it. I mean, we've all been in fights where you dap each other up at the end of it. Right? Because you know there's a limit and the communication maintains a mutual respect. And so it really is about getting that messaging across the office. So here's the things that I try not to be overly sympathetic to officers, and I try not to be overly hard on them. Because I know as a person who has been known to be quick-tempered, that I have not always communicated properly with the community. Especially when I was a 24-year-old out here with no sleep, riding around doing what I was doing, trying to keep the community safe. Sometimes you reach your wit's end. There is a real concept called compassion fatigue. And you get tired of dealing with the shit that you're dealing with. And unfortunately, you get tired of dealing with your own stuff too. Right? So all the problems that you got financially at home, the problems you got with your kids at home, all of those you carry into work with you. You don't like your beat partner, you're carrying that with you. You just went on a run where you tried to help somebody out and all they did was cuss you out. And the next thing you know, I'm dealing with her who ain't got no history of, and I'm treating her like trash. That's the problem. That's what we have to get across. And it also is, when we talk about mindset, it's also a mindset thing. Who are you policing for? I remember a conversation that I was having. I used to ride Tuesday in the 1st Division, which is a Russell neighborhood. It's a long way to answer your question. But I'm trying to explain to you the conversations that we're having internally about how we talk to people and how we communicate on the street. Because you are probably more impacted by the average patrol officer on the street and your interactions than you ever will be by me. So I remember I was riding Tuesday, and y'all know the old folks home right there, 18 and Ali. So me and my partner, I think I'm 24, he's like 22, 23. We are complaining about all the people we dealing with, just treating us like trash. We just got to talk to them 3 or 4 different issues where we ain't have nothing to do with it, and we got treated like trash. We complaining about it. We make a run there, we deal with it, and there's this old lady, she's about 100 years old, that stops us on the way out. And all she wanted to do was talk to us about how our day was going. We were nice, we were respectful, but it was everything in our power we could do to get away from her. Because we're 24 years old, what do we want to deal with a 100-year-old lady for? And then, see, you know when you was 24, you wasn't trying to talk to the old lady. But on a serious note, we get back to our cars, and we want nothing more than to go out here and look for bad guys who are going to treat us like crap. We forgot that we were policing for her, not for that next arrest. And so mindset does a whole lot in how you treat them. You can do the exact same thing, and you can do it with the wrong spirit, and people feel it. That we are doing this job because we care. And it is very easy to harden yourself and become cynical and frankly stop caring about people, and this just becomes a job. And that's a hard thing to prevent, it's a hard thing to overcome, but that is what we are trying to do internally.
Yes, using your words, you were saying not giving a damn. And representing the moms group, I want to ask, would you send your lead homicide detective to come talk to the group? Because too often that those who have lost loved ones, they call, detectives do not call back. They don't follow up even when you give them information for leads. And so we want to have a real conversation with your lead detective and have some questions in regards to how they handle cases, and do yourself sometimes go over a case or let me pull a case and see how they work in the case. And with Code Green, I know you're familiar with Bishop, and you was talking about their interaction with community, and he's trying to institute Code Green. And I know he went with your PR person as far as how police interact with the community and how the community interact with police officers, but he's getting no leeway, because if they show them the pamphlet, they'd say, we don't know nothing about no Code Green, and that would be good for your newlies that's coming on.
So, a couple of things is, one, this is a conversation that we had, and I need to make a note and follow up on it, because this is something I was trying to institute, is that I think homicide cases and sexual assault cases are the ones that are the two most emotionally fraught cases that we deal with, obviously, for obvious reasons. And we do not do a very good job of explaining the system and the process. And it doesn't matter how much we explain the system or the process. It's not going to be satisfactory because we understand that your loved one is lost and we can't bring that back. That being said, I think we need to do a better job, both on the front end and the back end, of explaining to the community, this is why we do the things that we do at a crime scene. And that's part of what we wanted to partner with the churches on. I'm going to follow back up on that with Assistant Chief Burbrink, because he did it years ago back when he was in homicide, and that's something we need to restart, is explaining to people ahead of time why we do what we do. And then particularly our victim services, I think they do a great job of working with survivors, but you're right about people being dissatisfied with the follow-ups from the detectives, and they are working their butts off, and they are doing a lot of the stuff that you say they're not, and then they're not communicating it very well often. So, but that is actually one of the benefits of our crime rate going down, is it gives us more time to actually do that type of work that is important to the victims.
So can we
yes,
speak
ma'am.
to your lead to come to the room?
Who would be the point of contact? So, all right, we'll set something up so we can have a meeting and get on the same page. So,
Okay, Chief, I want to say thank you for being here and sharing with us, being very candid in terms of all of that. As you know, the NAACP is a civil rights organization. We're on the battlefield, and there are issues that we have. You made those known to the mayor in terms of the process, but in all of that, we want to work with you. Yes, sir. At the end of the day, it's our community and we want to work together. So again, thank you. Several items that we need to be aware of is, number one, is that there is a new superintendent from Jefferson County Public Schools, and he will take over on July 1st, which is a couple of weeks away. He is the former superintendent of the Columbia, Missouri school system. And if you've done your homework and looked at the data in terms of the improvements and enhancement that he made in that school district, he's made a lot of great improvements, really focusing on the achievement gap and closing that. For this superintendent to be successful, he's going to need the support of organizations like the NAACP. And I want to make certain that everybody fully knows and understands that that is something that's going to be absolutely required and necessary to that. I can tell you that even before he was named, there were groups and individuals taking pot shots. Most not justified, not based on facts, but based on what people saw. And I said based on what people saw, not what was heard, not what the record was. So what I'm expecting is that, I said he'll be on board on July the 1st. As soon after he gets here, we're going to look at working on probably trying to have some kind of community welcoming that involves all organizations in this community, to bring him in, to introduce him to him. To also let them know that he's got a support network in this community of people who are willing to work hard to make him successful. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is whether or not our kids are learning and achieving in the school. There is a stubborn achievement gap, and we need to address it. We really need to address it. You know, I talk to retired teachers all the time, and we talk about reading scores and math scores and all that in JCPS. And each one of them, the person has told me, we know how to close that.
Yeah.
We know how to do it. All they got to do is let us do it. So hopefully with this superintendent coming in, is that kind of leadership will be provided. So we will have that coming up. So we know about the new superintendent. Next item is the consent decree. Invited the chief here tonight because, you know, as you said, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of things going on in the public media regarding the consent decree. Is there a consent decree? Is there no consent decree? What's in it? What's not in it? I guess from my, and I'll share with you my perspective on that, and it is, granted, the one that DOJ originally gave was 245 pages. The one the mayor and the chief signed is 212 pages, not 215, 212. And when you try to take what is in what was with the court and what was with what they signed, there are major differences, folks. To say that everything that DOJ outlined in this draft that it filed with the court is included in what the mayor and the chief signed is not true. It is absolutely not true. You also know that the Metro Council on a vote, what was 13 to 12, passed it was a resolution supporting what was in the DOJ thing. Passed on a vote of 13 to 12. But my expectation is, I'm not certain how much of what the mayor and the chief have signed will find its way into ordinances that can be enforced and followed in terms of where it is. So our work continues to be for us. One of the things they're doing, and there were flyers on the table when you came in on community listening session. These community listening sessions, the first one is tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the Y at 18th and Broadway. And that listening session is only on the issue of the qualities and qualifications the public wants to see in an independent monitor. Narrow. You get to talk about that particular issue, not about what are the elements in what they're doing and how those elements will be followed. So from my perspective, the community engagement that your mayor promised has gone unfulfilled. And you know, in a meeting I had with him a few weeks ago, my comment to him was, I guess what we'll have to end up doing is sending you a message through the ballot box.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's where it's going to count. And we've got to be able to do some things. So understand that is something that we're going to continue to work on, and it's going to continue to be a focus. To in fact see at the end of the day, we want justice, we want a process, we want accountability, and we want it to be transparent. When the chief talked about all the people that he had fired, I guess I must have been somewhere, because I think I read most everything that comes about. I have not seen where all those folks been fired. Now I've seen where criminals been caught in police cars drinking and doing other things and abusing their, but that's been it. So we need to do that. The other thing we want to be very aware of, and Ed, put your fingers in your ears, because you ain't got to hear what I'm about to say. If there is no inspector general sitting there monitoring what LMPD is doing, there is no oversight and no accountability. And because a person does his job, you may not like it. You can question all you want to, but you're questioning facts. Our inspector general has done an excellent job.
Yes, he
He's done what we expected him to do. He's done what we wanted him to do. And as it relates to this issue, we're not backing off in terms of placing pressure on Greenberg to, in fact, renew his contract come November.
That's right.
And I don't know why we have to wait till November
That's
to
right.
find out.
That's right.
So understand that, you know, you probably will read some harsh words in the media, because I'm not going to let up on Greenberg as it relates to this.
Good.
And we got to do So it gets the Inspector General. One other thing on my report, and I forgot, I need to introduce you all to my far right. This is DK Smith. DK is a summer intern from the University of Louisville working at the NAACP office. And he will be in there several days a week answering phones, shuffling papers, but also working on policy issues. So the other day when I met him, I told him he need to come, when he comes tonight, he need to be prepared to know about the superintendent and about the consent decree. And folks, he's prepared. He's got it. He could probably tell you more about those documents than I can at this point. So he's been very, very good in terms of doing that.
You got his membership, right?
Yes, we have it. That we have. That we have. And I guess in terms of the President's report, those are the only items that I have in terms of the, I guess a couple things I want to talk about under old business and announcements. Any questions on the president's report? Yes, sir.
Do you know, sir, of anyone who has been contacted, and I guess it would be from the mayor's office, asking them to be on that representative, on that part for representative?
As I understand it, what they did was they posted an announcement and asked anyone who was interested to apply for the position. So you had to apply for it.
But someone got an email, and I guess it came from the mayor's office, asking to be on that.
Oh, that's new. Well, that's new information.
Well, I'm giving it to you.
Okay. But that was where it was. It was he's going to appoint people from each of the police districts represented for that, and asked for people really for people to recommend or self-nominate folks for those positions. Next, we'll go to committee reports. And Clinton already has told Bonnie that she's going to give a report this evening, so give us an update. Let me say, make no mistake about it. The lady that's standing has done one hell of a job.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, update on the scholarships. This year, right now, we'll be giving, awarding scholarships of $118,000.
That's wonderful.
And we're hoping to get a few more dollars as we close in. The reception is July 10th. It's going to be at Seneca High School in their auditorium. And Raymond has invited the new superintendent to come. If he comes, we'll hear from him. We're looking to have a really nice program. We have 51 students. Of that 51, I think 45 of them have 3-point-something and above. We have a few with 2.5 and above that we take a chance on. Because grades don't always indicate.
That's right.
If you can go through JCPS and carry a C average, and you have done all the other things, we believe we need to take a chance on you. So we have 51 students to celebrate that night, and it's going to be laid back, relaxed, very light refreshments. No real food, just very light refreshments. And we want this one to really be great because this will be my last time serving as scholarship chair. Always be around to work and assist, but, and I said that before, but they didn't look for anybody.
Can't see.
Can't see.
Question.
Yes.
I'm sorry if you said already, but do you give a time on that for July 10th?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
Your scholarship, are they specifically for those who are matriculating to college, or are they some for vocational school or technical schools? Because everyone does not want to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just higher education. We have some very dedicated scholarships, like Geneva Stark has hers for teaching. DEP has its for business and teaching. Others are for the doctors, the lawyers, and the ministers. The rest of them, the major doesn't matter.
Air conditioning, plumbing, and tele.
They make more than I did.
Yeah.
And if you run across people who you think might be interested in supporting our scholarship program, please point them in the direction of the NAACP. I must admit, Charlene is always sending me people to contact, and so that's how we get our funds. But thank you, those who have donated, those who want to donate tonight. We are here to receive, and we appreciate all that you've done. If you come on the 10th, you will be excited about our students.
Any other committee? Are there any announcements?
I have brought in hello, I'm Vivian Griffiths. I brought in the flyer that everyone was waiting for me to bring regarding our Guyana Black Nurses Association Scholarship Awards Gala. And so Sister Kelly has that. And I also brought a copy just to pass around if it's possible for anyone who would like to just take a picture of it. The tickets are on Eventbrite, and the deadline for tickets would be August the 15th, because the gala is August the 23rd. It's at the University Club on Brandeis, and we hope that you'll come out and support. If you do not think you can actually attend, then you're able to make a donation.
Meeting with, on June 17, 2015, Darrell T. Owens, as a state representative, wrote a letter to then Mayor Greg Fisher. And I read this the last meeting. There were copies on the table and people picked it up. You know, tomorrow will be 10 years since this was written. I want you to take this and look at it and say, in those 10 years, what progress has been made, what items that he outlined then have been addressed, and where is the improvement in West Louisville. And with that, if there are no objections, we are adjourned.
Very good.